Another blast of winter instead of blossoms.
We came here to Vancouver looking for spring and didn't find anything.
Where the heck is spring?
Also, is a serial killer of pets prowling the streets of Dawson Creek?
And you don't like to think that somebody is killing animals and posing them frozen in an ice block.
And
The first time it happened, the credit card company called me.
is your financial institution making you pay for identity theft protection?
Why CTV's Linda Steele says, save your money.
This is CTV News.
Good evening. Powerful winds, driving rain, and even snow blasted parts of the south coast today.
On Vancouver Island, hundreds are still without power tonight from Monday's storm.
CTV's Maria Weisgarber begins our coverage tonight with a look at some of the hardest hit areas and one very close call.
Okay, this is the trailer that I was pulling. There's still some branches sticking out of the top of it.
All that's left of a pile of giant trees that came crashing down on Jeff Mee's truck on a northern stretch of the Island Highway on Monday.
I was in my truck and I feel this whoomp. Something would come across and hit my trailer. So I look over and look in my mirror and see what it was, and I look back just in time to see another one come down just above my hood.
Today, the winds kicked up again, clocking in at 111 kilometers per hour at the Maritime Heritage Museum in Campbell River.
I myself have been without power since Sunday at 4 a.m. and we've been surviving on a wood stove, and it's amazing what you can do with a wood stove.
Crews are working to restore power to hundreds of island customers. Some have been in the dark since Monday. Those with wells and electric pumps have also been without water.
We're still using dry firewood. We have no power. Yesterday we got water out of a creek in front of our house.
There's also the cold to contend with. Snow coated the road in the community of Black Creek, south of Campbell River.
Well, we've been selling a lot of batteries, camp fuel, tarps, supplies for chainsaws.
Chainsaws were at work in nearby Miracle Beach Provincial Park, trying to clear away what the wind left behind.
We're still chipping away, just kind of a span at a time, so lots down.
I'm just glad I got through it.
Jeff Mee is relieved he and his truck are okay. The same can't be said for the trailer, but it's clear it could have been worse. Maria Weisgarber, CTV News, Vancouver.
Now, don't fret. Spring is coming, we're told, but it sure still feels a lot like winter. As you've seen, fresh snow, huge windstorms, and canceled ferries. St. John Alexander now on what seems like a long wait for spring. St. John?
Yeah, spring is next week, Mike. You'd never know it.
This we're used to seeing, early buds forming on trees. It's that other stuff flying around that's sending a chill down our spines.
It's too cold.
Don't adjust your set. This is Burnaby. This, East Vancouver. In March.
Where is spring?
I don't know, but it's certainly not here yet.
I don't know. I just got back from Hawaii.
You got back from Hawaii
and
you came back to this?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Garbage.
It's not in Chicago. We came here to Vancouver looking for spring and didn't find anything.
High winds that knocked down trees all over Metro Vancouver this week and even closed Stanley Park briefly are back. And once again, some ferry sailings were canceled.
It is frustrating if you have something important to do and it gets canceled, but you know, this is spring holiday, so it's okay.
But this is the West Coast. This is the kind of weather we expect in the rest of the country. Check out Winnipeg. It's supposed to be covered in snow and they're golfing. And what a weekend in Toronto. 17 degrees.
Nice weather, so warm, so happy to be out.
Beautiful day. Nice day to ride. Hopefully we'll get more days like this.
Over the last couple of Marches, they have been cooler than normal. 2009 was only about a half degree warmer than this month so far, and we've only gone through the coldest, traditionally the coldest half of the month.
And don't worry about all those plants that want to bloom.
This is not the end of all things.
Garden experts say it needs to get a lot colder before we panic.
The buds on the trees are swelling. There's signs of life in the garden. Don't lose hope.
Yeah, remain calm, I guess. St. John, what about the rain? More than normal?
You know what? In the last 16 days, only 4 of them have been dry. In terms of the amount of rain altogether for March so far, apparently we're right on track. Hard to believe right now. Mike, Tamara?
All right, thanks a lot, St. John. Let's check in with meteorologist Michael Coos. Now, you are everywhere these days. Something tells me you're a busy guy. Something tells me we're not done with this weather, are we?
You know, this time of year when you're everywhere as a meteorologist, maybe that's not such a good thing. We do have another system on the way, Tamara. The one that brought the rain and the wind and the snow today is exiting. It's losing some of its steam, but right on its heels, another developing low tracking toward the northern tip of the island. Now, this is interesting. As we move ahead toward the early overnight, that low, as it approaches the coast and, as I mentioned, the northern tip of the island, it strengthens. The actual center deepens. And take a look at these lines. These are lines of equal pressure. When they're tightly packed like this, that indicates very powerful winds, and that's what we will see through the south coast and again across the island from 2 a.m. until about 5 or 6 in the morning. And then as that low slides up toward the north coast, we'll get away from the more powerful winds. The winds will back off as we roll into the mid-morning and the afternoon. So look for that light rain from now until 2 a.m. The winds at about 20 to 40 kilometers per hour as we move from 4 a.m. to about 8 a.m. In fact, really from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m., those winds are going to pick up 50 to as much as 80 kilometers per hour. We could see some more trees down, especially across the island, the Sunshine Coast, and even around the lower mainland. And the rain is going to be heavy too, 20 to 35 millimeters of rain. And this is what it looks like from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. The wind backs off and the rain gets quite light too. I'll let you know what's on the way for the weekend and the first few days of spring coming up, guys.
All right, Michael, thanks very much. Well, it's a one-year anniversary tonight for Premier Christy Clark. It seemed to start with a smile, but today British Columbians do not seem so enamored by that trademark grin. Our Legislative Bureau Chief Ed Watson joins us now from Victoria. Ed, is she suddenly shying away from the microphones?
Not so much shying away as perhaps focusing the message a little bit, moving it to the right with policies like Bill 22, the teachers' legislation, and a budget the Premier proudly proclaims as the most conservative in Canada. And in keeping with the conservative approach, perhaps they want to control access a little bit more. And that caused a bit of an exchange today between reporters and one of the Premier's new hires.
Guys, the Premier's not taking questions today.
Why not?
In Vancouver, she's touring around, she's talking to clean tech companies.
It's a BC media welcome for Christy Clark's new communications director.
She took questions yesterday, as you know.
Sarah McIntyre comes to BC from the Prime Minister's office in Ottawa, where managing the media and the message is a priority, and politicians take questions on their terms.
I, Christy Clark.
When Clark was sworn in a year ago, she was lauded as a charismatic communicator, willing to talk to almost anyone, anytime.
Clark goes all the way to 42% in August, drops.
If you look at opinion polls, Clark's accessibility apparently hasn't helped her popularity. Over the past year, Angus Reid Public Opinion asked a random group of 800 British Columbians who they would prefer as Premier. Clark's track has steadily declined since May. Adrian Dix has grown in popularity, now surpassing Clark, and the preference for John Cummins has remained virtually the same. If you look at approval rating, the good news for Clark is, as of early this year, her rating had actually gone up from what she had in May, but it's still 5% below the approval rating of Adrian Dix, and Conservative leader John Cummins' rating has more than doubled.
The main difficulty here is we could have a situation where she's still regarded as somebody they like and who they like as a head of government, but if the BC Liberals continue to lose votes to the BC Conservatives, it's not going to matter in the end.
To appeal to more conservative voters, Clark has hired Ken Bossencool as chief of staff. He's the guy facing us. He's got close ties to the Harper Conservatives. And last week, Clark hobnobbed with conservatives at a meeting in Ottawa put on by former Reform Party leader Preston Manning's policy group. The meeting was dutifully reported by the conservative-friendly Sun Media.
30 seconds.
Which brings us back to Sarah McIntyre and a more focused attempt to control the message, which is Christy Clark may be a Liberal, but she's a Conservative too.
It has been a great honor to serve the people of British Columbia for this past year since I was sworn in as Premier.
Seems to be a bit of a mixed message there, Ed.
Well, it's a mixed message that is key for the Liberals if they hope to win the next general election and the two by-elections that will be called very soon. That's because Clark has to appeal to both sides of the coalition. The Conservatives particularly have been looking at Mr. Cummins' Conservative Party, and if the vote on the right is split, the New Democrats will win. That's a truism in terms of politics in BC, and if you watch opinion polls, if a vote was held today, a general election, that's exactly what would happen. Mike? Tamara?
All right, thanks a lot, Ed. Ed Watson live in Victoria tonight. Whistler RCMP have confirmed human remains found in a wooded area near the Alpine Meadows subdivision last week are those of 34-year-old Mike Greffner. Greffner, a DJ who worked in Whistler, had been missing since January. He was last seen being dropped off at home at 2 a.m. on January 17th. Several friends say they spoke to him that night, the last one at 5 a.m. Greffner did not report to work the next evening. Friends and family put up posters hoping for a lead, but nothing. Police say there is no sign of foul play, and they are investigating.
An animal abuse story from Dawson Creek tonight has echoes of an incident a year ago, and it has the SPCA investigating once again. Julia Foy now on what they discovered at a mobile home park yesterday, and we warn you, the images are very disturbing.
This is not a prank. This is not funny.
When the SPCA were called out to the Mile Zero trailer park in Dawson Creek yesterday, officers were shocked to discover a grisly example of animal cruelty.
There was a cat that was frozen in what appeared to be a block of ice that had come from a Tupperware container type bin.
The block was discovered on top of a hydropower box in clear view of the neighbors.
It's really upsetting because they wanted to know what was going on and I didn't want to have to tell them, but yeah, I wouldn't want them to come across something like that.
When I come outside, I'll be letting her with me. I won't be letting him out here by himself. Not after seeing a picture like that and knowing it was right next to my house.
What makes the cat's discovery even more disturbing is that it's not the first time a dead animal has been found in the same kind of frozen shroud.
Approximately a year ago, not more than a few doors down, a dog was found in a block of ice under very similar circumstances.
The cat has been sent for a necropsy. The dog's results were inconclusive about how the animal died. But both animals were posed in a similar fashion, so the SPCA believes the same person is likely involved. They're asking for the public's help before any other animals are injured.
Whoever is doing this, it's very important that we are able to find them. Who knows what else they may be doing?
Julia Foy, CTV News.
We have new video today of the middle-aged woman suspected of robbing as many as 5 banks within 2 weeks. RCMP in Coquitlam say she got away with thousands of dollars. The thefts happened in Burnaby, Coquitlam and Langley during the last 2 weeks of October. The suspect is between 5'4" and 5'10" with a medium to heavy build and has blonde hair.
They are bored and don't have enough to do. At least that's the conclusion of a report on the Lower Mainland's transit police that says the force is a waste of taxpayer money. As John Woodward reports tonight, the allegations of obvious inefficiencies are fueling calls to cut the service back.
Transit police patrol the SkyTrain lines to stop crime and catch fare dodgers.
We are the sinew, we're the thread that goes through the entire region.
Even though every part of the SkyTrain is on another police force's turf, and sometimes both forces use resources on one crime. That was just one of the problems an Edmonton report found after it decided to study the Vancouver model. Edmonton was considering a similar force, but it's since dropped the idea. The author wrote, "The inefficiencies are quite obvious. It had been mentioned to me that this type of police service designation will not likely be repeated in the province."
Transit needs to take another hard look at the model before investing any more money in it and probably scrap it to save money.
This report says there's another problem. Bored transit police officers try to chase crimes off SkyTrain lines, and that causes friction with other police departments. The Edmonton officer wrote, "When you put fully trained police officers in a transit environment, they realize fairly quickly that transit crime and disorder work is not that interesting." Is being a transit policeman boring?
John, I would offer that I think people come to us specifically because of the type of work we do.
Neil Dubord says his officers welcome chances to stop crime, even off the station property.
So if we see a victim being victimized within a parking lot, we're going to take the necessary action to be able to prevent that victimization.
Now, that doesn't cause friction with the jurisdictional police?
Absolutely not. That would be their expectation.
TransLink says its police force is keeping crime low and it has a faster response time than municipal forces.
We have seen our safety, confidence in the public go up. We have seen our customer satisfaction ratings go up. So I think there's a good value to the public here.
I think people feel safer today on the SkyTrain system. I think people are looking for that.
A feeling that critics say isn't worth the force's $27 million annual cost. John Woodward, CTV News, Vancouver.
The Okanagan real estate market has mostly been a story of rising prices, but now a slump is giving rise to something rarely seen: foreclosures. The number of court-ordered sales has shot up sharply. Kent Mulgat explains why.
So it's a fantastic family home.
Realtor Helmut Hubert shows off a newly renovated home.
A beautifully redone kitchen. You've got new hardwood floors.
But the previous owners never got to enjoy it. The once bulletproof Okanagan real estate market is sagging, and now we're seeing the F word of the property business: foreclosure.
Typically, they ran into some bad fortune, maybe a job loss.
It's affecting investors and residents alike. This home is one of more than 175 in the central Okanagan up for court-ordered sale. It's a number unheard of the last time this house changed hands.
In 2007, we were in the teens, so like 11, 12, 13 total foreclosures.
What happened with this home is part of a tenfold increase in financial failures.
And those are the people that your heart goes out to. They're just trying to make ends meet, and they're doing everything that they can, and this is sort of like the last straw.
The mortgage defaults range from entire condo developments to modest individual homes. Mortgage brokers have watched as the foreclosure rate has scared some lenders out of the Okanagan.
One of them currently isn't lending in the Okanagan region, and the other lender doesn't even have any local representation right now, so they're kind of scaling back a little.
No one from the Okanagan Mainland Real Estate Board would speak to us about this on camera, but a spokesperson tells us you have to keep this in perspective, that the current rate of foreclosure sales, being at about 5%, really isn't that high. It just seems that way when you compare it to several years of a constantly rising real estate market during which foreclosures were extremely rare. Most observers agree the Okanagan remains an attractive place to live, and the current downturn will pass.
If you look at the world economy and what the things that are going on, there's reasons why we're in a bit of a downturn, and once everything gets sorted out, then everything will be good again.
Kent Mulgat, CTV News, Kelowna.